Hi everyone, my name is Shraddha and in this video I will show you how to cut and stitch a very simple sleeveless sari blouse. If you want to know how to make draft of this blouse, click on the blog link below given in the description box. So let's start with placing of these drafts on fabric. As you can see, I have used cotton blouse cut piece with 80 cm length and 36 inches width. Join the fabric with selvage to selvage on one side and fold on other side. Pin both front and back drafts to fabric as shown. Place center front 1 cm away from selvage and center back on fold. Once the drafts are placed on fabric, we will now mark the seam allowance. Mark seam allowance of 1 cm at neckline, shoulder, armhole and hem and 3.5 cm at the side seam. After marking the seam allowance on front and back on all sides, we will then do marking or transfer of darts. Using tailor's chalk, transfer darts from draft to fabric by extending dart legs on seam allowance. Insert pin at dart apex to mark point as shown. Remove draft and join the dart apex to dart legs using scale and fabric chalk. This is how you will mark the darts for the front, all the 3 darts on each side, and these are the 2 darts that you have marked on the back side. Once the darts are marked on the front and back, we will now cut the front and back on the seam allowance. These are the final pieces of the cut front and back. We will now do the stitching of these darts. Now when stitching the dart, as you can see, there are these 2 dart lines of the triangle and there is a center line which we have to fold. So just fold the center line and get the 2 dart lines one on top of the other. Now we will be putting a stitch line on this slant line. So what you have to do is start from the outer edge, come to the dart apex, starting from the outer edge and go back. You don't have to do any lock stitch at the start and end. As said, start stitching from outer edge of the fabric towards the dart apex. When you reach the dart apex, put the needle inside the fabric, pick up the presser foot and turn the fabric. Now you have to stitch on the same stitch line. I have used a contrasting color thread so that the stitch is visible. Keep presser foot and stitch back on the dart line in continuation. This is how you have to finish each dart. Darts stitch on either sides of front and back should be of same length. It should not be one smaller than the other. The back darts should be ironed facing the side seam. This is the front. As you can see, there are 3 darts. The waist dart should face the side seam and the center front and side seam dart should face towards the hem. Iron the front and back once the darts are stitched. Once darts are stitched, finish shoulder with front seam. We will finish the shoulder with front seam. For that, keep inner side of front and back facing each other, that is the darts should be facing each other, and on the right side the shoulder seam allowance will be 1 cm. So from the outer edge, come in by 0.5 cm and do a stitch line on the right side. As you can see, I have done a stitch line at 0.5 cm on the right side. Now we will trim at the center of this 0.5 cm. So this is how you will trim at the center. Be careful that you don't cut the stitch line. Once it is trimmed, open, fold and iron on the inner side. Get the edge of the stitch line on the outside and from the outer edge of fold come in by 0.5 centimeters and do another stitch line. So this is how our front seam on shoulder will be done. Just see to it that there are no raw edges visible on the right side. Once you are done with the front seam on shoulder, we will now finish the center front with button stand. For this, from the remaining fabric, cut straight bands for finishing the button stand and hemline. Now we will place the button stands on both the center fronts. On the left hand side, the band width will be 4 centimeters. Measure the center front line. It will be same on both sides. And cut a band with a width of 4 centimeter. You can join in between if you don't get a continuous band. On the right hand side, again the center front should be measured. It will be same as the left side. The right side band width will be 5 centimeters. Fold it in center and place it on the center front to do a stitch line. Top and bottom raw edges will be finished in neckline and hemline. We will start placing on the left side. Stitch at 1 centimeter from the edge on the center front. As you can see, I have stitched the band on the left side. Now I will turn the band, left side band completely inside, iron it. Turn it completely inside and the outer edge which is open, turn 1 centimeter inside, iron and do slip stitch or hemming. You have to do slip stitch or hemming. It should not be visible on the right side of the blouse. Now on the right side, again stitch at 1 centimeter on the center front, iron it. This band will be having a fold in center. The remaining 1 centimeter on the inner side you have to fold and iron and do a slip stitch. You can pick up the stitch line of the 1 centimeter stitch line that we have done for the slip stitch. This is how I have done a slip stitch on both the front panels. And we are done with the button stand. We will now do the hem finishing. For the hem finishing, again use a straight band. Place it at the hem and stitch at 1 centimeter. Just put a fold of 1 centimeter on the starting of the center front this way and place it at the center front. In this manner, pin it up and from the edge, if there are any raw edges, cut it out. From the edge, we will do a stitch line at 1 centimeter and fold the band completely inside. Once you turn the band completely inside, fold the other end by 1 centimeter and iron and do the slip stitch. Same way we will attach the band for the back hem. You have to attach the bands from the right side and go to the inside. As you can see, I have attached the band at 1 centimeter on the right side. Now I will completely turn the band inside. And whatever is the outer edge which is open, I will turn again 1 centimeter in and do a slip stitch. I have shown how to do a slip stitch later in this video. Same way for the other center front hem. stitch at 1 centimeter, fold and iron, and 1 centimeter, fold inside and do a slip stitch. Even for back, follow the same method like the front hem finishing. So the hem bands are ready for slip stitch. Now we will finish the neckline and armhole. Cut bias bands on diagonal fabric with width of 3 centimeters each. This is how you're supposed to cut the bands. Now the neckline and armhole will be finished with these continuous bias bands. These are cut pieces of bias bands and we have to make a continuous bias band to finish the neckline and the 2 armholes. These bands have got good stretchability. As you can see, the bands have got slant ends and we have to stitch them one to another. So for that, what you have to do is fold the band at 1 centimeter in the slant way and place it on the other band this way. As you can see, you will get a continuous band. And now on the inner side where the fold line has come, we will do a stitch line. The stitch line will be done in a slant way. This is how we will use all the bands and do a continuous bias band. Whatever are the triangular corners coming out, we will trim them. Flatten that seam with the iron and trim the triangular corners coming out. These bias bands are now ready to be attached to the neckline and armhole. We have got continuous bands. Now we will start attaching these bias bands. Cut the slant end on band straight, fold in 1 centimeter and place it on the center front of the neckline, this way. Before placing the band on neck, finish button stand stitching and slip stitch on both sides of front. Now pin the bands around neckline without stretching the band. As you know, the bias bands have got maximum stretchability, so pin these bands on the neckline without stretching at 1 centimeter. Fold band 1 centimeter, same way on the other end. This is how we have to attach the bias bands on the neckline and the 2 armholes at 1 centimeter. After stitching the bias bands, we will give slits on the curve at a distance of 2 centimeters. Be careful while giving slits that you don't cut on the stitch line. Slits on curve help the band to turn completely inside. Once you turn completely inside, fold the other end by 1 centimeter and do a slip stitch. Same way we have to finish the neckline. Give slits at a distance of 2 centimeters. Turn the band completely inside, iron it and fold the other edge that is open 1 centimeter in and do a slip stitch. Now I will show how to iron and fold the bias bands on slip stitch. Now I will show how to do slip stitch on button stand, hemline, armhole and neckline finish. For doing slip stitch, pick up 2 threads from base fabric and slip the needle in fold at 1 cm. Again pick up 2 threads from the base and slip in the fold at 1 cm. As you can see, I have slipped in the fold. Same way you have to do the slip stitch throughout from one end to other. Pick up 2 threads from base, base as in the base fabric, and we will slip the needle inside the fold at 1 cm. This is another way of finishing the hem. So you can see that there are 2 stitch dots visible on the right side, and we will continue with the slip stitch till the other end. For side seam finishing, the seam allowance is 3.5 centimeters. From the raw edge, come in by 0.5 centimeters and do a stitch on the right side this way. Once you have done the stitch line at 0.5 centimeters on the right side, turn the blouse inside out and iron both sides on the stitched edge. You have to get the edge completely outside, iron it properly, and from that fold edge come in by 0.5 centimeters and do a stitch line. We will do at least 3 stitch lines on the inner side. So 2 more stitch lines to 0.5 stitch line at a distance of 1.5 and 1 centimeter on both sides. So now I am doing the first stitch on the right side of the blouse at 0.5 centimeters. Then after folding inside out, stitch from edge at 0.5 centimeters on both sides of the blouse. Then from that we will do 2 more stitch lines next to the 0.5 centimeter line and at a distance of 1.5 centimeter and 1 centimeter. This is how the side seam finishing is done on both sides. Now we will finish with the hook and eye. For marking hook and eye, place one hook on top and the other at the bottom as shown. Mark with the fabric chalk. Place the third hook in center by joining and folding top and bottom edge of button stand. So this is where we'll place the third hook. Now in between these two, we will place 2 more hooks at an equal distance. You can measure the distance and place the hooks and mark each hook with the fabric chalk. And opposite to the hooks, we will mark the points for the eye. Now for hook stitching, place hook on marked point and insert the needle in one of the holes, and we will be doing buttonhole stitch on each hole, so at least 4 to 5 buttonhole stitches in each hole of the hook. See to it that the head of the hook is right on the edge of the center front. It should not be inside. These hooks are stitched on the left side of the button stand. So make 4 to 5 buttonhole stitches in each hole of the hook. To hold the head At the edge, we will do again 4 to 5 buttonhole stitches between the gap of the hook, this way. This is how we have to finish the stitching of each hook. As you can see, the head is not moving. For the eye, on the right side of the button stand, we will do 2 basic stitches, just 2 basic stitches this way on the top. And on that basic stitches, we will be doing the buttonhole stitch from one end to the other. As you can see, I am doing the buttonhole stitch from one end to the other. So this is how we will finish each eye. Make the eye on the inner side of the button stand edge. That is exactly on the center front. This is how we have finished the hook and eye. Thank you for watching this video. If you have liked it, please hit the like button, share, comment and subscribe to my channel for more such videos. Till then, bye bye.